Broadsword calling Danny boy.
Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV, and a game of interplanetary I Spy going on here. Now this may get complicated. What I'm going to try and do here is show you as much evidence for a military base on Mount Sharp, or near, on the edge perhaps of Mount Sharp, in one hit. Now I've got a lot of evidence for this, and I've got a bunch of videos lined up here for you ready. I'm just going to show you little clips of each of these, and I've also got a whole bunch of images that I haven't published in any videos yet, some new stuff, a whole bunch of stuff here, and some of it you might have seen already, some of it's new, but I'm also going over some old stuff that I published well over a year ago, and I'm going to try and explain what I think a lot of this stuff is, and show you roughly how close a lot of this stuff is to Mount Sharp, and how near some of these anomalies are to each other. I'm going to try and give you an overview of what I think all this stuff is, and how a lot of it may be related. I really do think that a lot of this stuff we're seeing up on Gale Crater there, down in Gale Crater I should say, is of military significance, and I do think that there is tons of evidence here for the crashed aircraft, ships, boats, all manner of vehicles, probably cars and trucks. But at the moment I'm finding a lot of marine wreckage, mainly because a lot of this area was underwater. But there are aircraft that are crashed into some of these gullies and some of these areas, possibly missiles as well, all sorts of stuff, and a lot of it is military. I'm not saying everything at Gale Crater is military, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying the whole of Mount Sharp is a military base. I'm saying that some of it is, and some of it may have been used by the public, just like you would get on Earth. You have some parts that are military, some parts that are civilian. So, right, let's crack on with it. There's a lot to cover here, so do bear with me. Right, we're going to start off. Now, I've got these videos lined up. Now, this is one I published quite a while back, and this is from Sol 186 here, okay? Now, I'm just going to let that play through. Now, there's a lot of crap in here, to tell you the truth, because this was one of my first ever videos, and I really didn't know what I was doing. So I'm going to try and pick out some of the better stuff. Now, it does help actually with some of the older videos, if you don't view it full size. If you view it smaller, you can actually see the stuff better, because actually my imaging skills, well, my video skills weren't really up to scratch then, and didn't really know what I was doing. So I'm just going to let this, right, there's loads of little components here, little component parts that look like nuts and bolts and stuff like that. You can just about make them out on this thing here. There's lots of little bolts going through this metal object. Okay, we won't spend too long on this because this is poor quality image stuff here, mainly because the photographs that were given by the Curiosity are terrible, a lot of them. And let's just flick forward. Right, now here we go. Now this was one thing I thought was interesting. It has some teeth in it. This is a component part of some kind of wreckage. Couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but there's loads of this stuff, and it's terrible quality image. This really grungy. I'll just go through to the main thing in here, because there's loads of little odds and sods in here, but I'll show you that. Now here we go. Now I think originally this was spotted by Michael Witter a number of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago now, and a whole bunch of people did a video on this thing here in the foreground. Now it's been interpreted as a robot arm or a robot leg or something like that. It's definitely mechanical, that's for sure. Absolutely no doubt about it. You can see it's mechanical, and I'll show you it up close in a sec. Now look at the thing behind it. Look at this. This is a nose section, and this is kind of an engine block or some sort of. If this is all encrusted in mud, could have been there a million years, don't know. And there's a whole row of this stuff Now this is the front end of it, okay? So this is on the right here. This is the front end, and there's a whole bunch of stuff behind it. There's even a load of engine parts and little components lying around in the dirt here, nuts and bolts, that kind of thing. They're all over the place in this image. So yeah, you may want to look at this properly. It's not a brilliant quality video. I didn't really know what I was doing when I did this. I wasn't working in full HD then because I didn't have the computer to do it. I only had a little one. So yeah, I do apologise for the quality, but yeah, on a lot of it you can see what's going on. You know, it's good enough, and it does help if you view it a bit smaller like this because it kind of sharpens it up. Right, so I'm going to show you where this is. I've got an overview. Now, I do actually think I know Gale Crater now, parts of Gale Crater, parts of it, better than I know parts of my hometown now. I've been looking at these images for so long that I really do know it well, and I can really cross-reference a lot of stuff now because I've done so much work on it, especially on some of these large panoramic sort of things like this. Now this is PIA 16568. Now there is a version of this you can get without all these annotations and stuff on them. Ignore those. But this is a really good quality image, and you know, I've found so much stuff in here I couldn't even begin to tell you. It's absolutely ridiculous. The amount of stuff in here, mostly fossils actually. There's dozens. I'll just show you one of them now. This is the tsunami fossil video I did. Now look how clear this is. This was taken really early on and published very early on in the Curiosity mission. And they knocked out a few of these panoramics, but since have hardly done any. I wonder why. Now here's the tsunami fossil. This has got dead creatures fossilized into it here. I just thought I'd show you it because I just love this thing, this huge rock. It's even got a head of some creature, like a skull on there, like a little pig or something on top. Don't really know. But there's a sort of fossilized rodent here. See him? Now this is completely raw. Done nothing to this. They've already white balanced this image, so you're seeing it in pretty good color here. It's very blue. Now that nose section I was on about is over here. Here, you can just about make it out. Now obviously this is further away, so the scale's different. But you can see the nose section here, and there's that what looks like an engine block here, and the gun camera is a blurry piece of crap here because it's too far away now. But that's it. That's what I called the gun camera. Now you really can't see it very well here because we're much further away, and this is what they call a deep zoom image, and you can find these on the NASA website. I'll put some of these links in the description as usual anyway, so you can get hold of this stuff. This is an awesome image. I really cannot stress how good this image is. It's probably the best one ever taken. There's enough evidence in this one image alone to prove beyond any reasonable doubt past life on Mars, and I'm 100% sure that is the case. There is tons of evidence in here. I've probably made 20 or 30 videos from this one image. You could look at this image for a whole year and still not find everything that's in it. I cannot stress this enough. So if any of you guys out there want to find stuff, look at this image, okay? It is teeming with fossils, especially down here in the bottom left and up here by these big blue rocks here, around these big blue rocks, and by this big rock here. It is absolutely teeming with stuff, and I could do a video all day on just this image. But for now, we're looking at wreckage. We're looking at aircraft wreckage, specifically boats, aircraft, missiles, that kind of thing, ships, whatever. Mechanical, military wreckage. Okay. Now this thing here, and this is the nose end of this thing here. Let's go back to that a minute. There we go. There's a close-up. You can see the nose. You can see that what looks like an engine block. Now this is all encrusted in mud. This was all probably underwater for a long time before it all dried up. There's the gun camera. Okay, I'll show you an image of a gun camera. This is why I call it a gun camera, because it looks like a gun camera. It's not identical to this, but look at the angular sort of shape of it here, and these lenses sticking out here, and these bolts going through. It's very, very similar to a lot of the wreckage in this particular area, and you've really got to get in and look at this a bit closer. I think it goes in closer here. There we go. There we are. And there we are. Now look at the angular nature of this mechanical piece of kit here. And this foot thing here, and people have said this could be a robot's arm or leg. It may well be. I could be way off the mark. But judging by the military nature of many of the things I've found, I do think a lot of them are related and from aircraft and boats. But this particular thing looks like a gun camera, so that's what I've coined it as. Other people have interpreted it differently, and that's cool, up to them. And this thing here, which looks like a foot, looks to be the sort of thing that you would actually attach it to an aircraft with. Now, let me show you another photograph here. Royal Air Force, World War II. Here's the gun camera, and it's being attached up into the wing of an aeroplane. I can't tell you what this is, this aircraft, actually. I can't tell from this angle what type of aeroplane this is. It doesn't matter. I don't think, actually, this may not even be British. Judging by the flag on there, this may not be. It could be German. But anyway, yes. There he is there. He's attaching the gun camera into the gun port on the wing of an aeroplane. Now, obviously used for surveillance and reconnaissance. And this would look straight out of the the port hole here, or just underneath it, and take images of enemy positions. Okay? And this kind of foot-shaped thing, I do think maybe the part of it which slots into whatever aircraft or thing it was attached to, that would kind of slot it into the housing to hold it in place. I could be wrong, but that's my interpretation. Right, we'll move on. I'll show you a bit more of this. Now, there he is again. There's the nose. There's the block behind it. There's the little gun camera there. You can just about make out a funny coloured thing there. Now, if you look further along, this thing is huge. This may be a missile. May not be an aircraft. Maybe a missile. Don't know. But there certainly seems to be a really long fuselage here. Now, it starts here. Goes here. You see this bit here? This is like a long tube or a broken part of the fuselage. Then there's a load of crap down here. There's some interesting things here, maybe nothing to do with it, maybe just rocks. There's the tsunami rock, as I've called it, the tsunami fossil rock. And then there's another whole load of it over here. And this is well, it's not that far away. It's probably only 10, 15 meters or something like that away from the front. And then there's a whole load more, and it's all in one long section here. And you can almost see this is metallic, and there's bits of wiring and stuff. I haven't enhanced this. This is as it comes. If you enhance this, you clip this out and sharpen it up, and give it a little tiny bit of blur and sharpening and that kind of thing, you will figure out that all this is one thing, okay, that's broken into sections. So there's one sort of section here, partly buried, pardon me, kind of broken there, and then it carries on over here. And I really do think this is the part of the same wreckage. It's a really long wreckage debris field here, and it stretches right across here. Now that may seem really big, but actually it's not that. It's not as big as I thought. Now I used to think this was a much larger area, but actually this rock, to give you some scale, this rock here, the tsunami fossil rock I've called it, is about 1 meter across, give or take a bit. So if this is an aircraft, it's actually quite long and narrow. So I'm going with a missile. I'm actually going with a missile here, or some kind of drone perhaps, or perhaps the pilot was really, really small. Now bear that in mind. Now I think I may have actually found the pilot's helmet as well. If this is an aircraft, and it may well be, may not be, but from the other things I found nearby, there's loads of skulls and weird fossils around here. Now just down here somewhere. Now I don't know if I can find it straight off the bat here because it's been a while. There's a fossilized creature here. It's just stuff everywhere. There's loads of weird stuff in here that I've shown in other videos. There's the spoon. There's the spoon. Okay. It's everywhere. There's a little shovel here. Okay. There's a lizard's foot or something here. There's a weird sort of thing here, like a bag or some weird fossil. There's fossils everywhere here. I mean, I could go on forever. I'll try and crack on. Now, okay. Now there is a pilot's helmet down here somewhere, and I can't find it right now because I haven't looked at this image for a while and I can't remember where it is. So I'll show you it. I've got one I prepared earlier. Here he is. Now we should be able to work out where this is on the image because of this thing sticking out here. This what looks like a flipper sticking out, which is not. It's a rocket, or maybe not. Never rule anything out on Mars. Seriously. Right, let's go back to here. He's up here somewhere. Here we go. There he is. There's the flipper, what I call it. Now this looks like a kind of dead creature behind it. It's fossilised. This blue thing probably isn't, but that's just me seeing dead animals everywhere. Okay. Now, if you look at this, now this really puzzled me for ages, and I've been holding back on this one because I didn't really know what to do with it. I found this ages ago, and I've got it in one of my folders on my desktop. It's been sitting there for months and months, probably about a year even. Now, this is unenhanced, but when you look, this is just a flat sort of weird piece of rock here, just here. But this thing here, sitting on the end of the rock, looks like a helmet, a pilot's helmet, with a visor here and an earpiece here, and a sort of bit of stuff around it here. Got me? Weird, I know, and it looks. What makes it really weird for me, whenever I look at it, which is why I've avoided publishing this, is it looks like a bird wearing a helmet, because this looks like a beak sticking out here. Now, I don't think it is. I think it's just that the helmet is resting on the rock here. Now, this beak part is maybe part of the helmet, which may be some sort of oxygen mask or something like that that's attached to it. Don't know. Let me show you the enhancement because we want to crack on with this. We don't want to spend too long. I've got it. Oh, I don't know. Where is he? Oh, bugger. Right, okay. Somewhere here, somewhere. I have it. Oh dear. Did I get it? Well, hang on. Where is he? Oh God. I thought I had the enhanced ones here. Here we go. Here's the enhanced version. Now you can see that a little bit clearer. It looks like a helmet. Okay. This has been blurred a little bit. I've got rid of the pixelation. I sharpened it up and up the brightness and stuff. Is that a helmet? I don't know. It looks like a mechanical object anyway, and it looks a bit like a visor here with a sort of helmet here at the top. But because the way it's resting on this thing here, and this beak-looking thing, which may not be a beak at all, sticking out, I really struggled with this, and I've sort of avoided publishing it because it just looks too crazy. But I thought I'd chuck this in because it may well be a helmet. We don't really know who owned it or whether it's a helmet or not. Don't know. Speculating here. But I thought that was a helmet anyway. It looked like one to me. We'll move on. Now, other evidence, other crash evidence. This is a really old video. Another one, Sol 198. This one, Curiosity. This is one of my first videos as well. The quality isn't brilliant. This is an early video, but if you zoom back a bit, like I've done here, you can see it. There's loads of wreckage in here, and a lot of this is marine wreckage, as you can see coming up in a sec. There's all sorts of weird anomalies here, but as with the last Sol that I showed you a minute ago, from like the other old video, the quality's terrible, and I've over zoomed it as well a bit on a lot of this, and you can't see anything in a lot of clear detail because I've gone in too close. But if I explain this stuff to you, you might be able to work out from further back here what this is. Now this looks very much like a bomb. There's the back of it, that's the fin on the back, and there's the bomb there. This image is incredibly poor quality from the Curiosity or from the website. It's been really badly resized and stuff. So it's got these little blocks going all the way through it, and I didn't really know how to get rid of that when I made this video. So the blocks do distort everything. You've got all these blocks going everywhere. Okay, good grid. But you can make out this is a shiny object, and it looks very much like a bomb. It's not particularly large. It's probably only about a foot long, possibly a bit less or a bit more. This looks like a boat section here, maybe the back of a boat, almost like a rudder here on the back. And there's loads of other wreckage here. I won't spend too long on this because the quality is pretty terrible. But this is what I wanted to show you, just here. Now this has had a load of views, this video, but it's not great quality. But this thing here, now this thing up here, this structure may be part of a boat or something. It looks like it's made of metal, and it may be a bit of boat wreckage or even aircraft wreckage. Don't really know. It looks very, very intriguing, whatever it is. But the thing I was really interested in is right in front of it, which has fins on it. See? Now I think I may have found the ship that towed this thing, because I think this little submarine device at the bottom here, just here, is one of those things which I don't know the name of. It's the sort of thing that possibly may be towed by a minesweeper, and this would be towed in the water on a long wire, or even remotely now. I think they do it, and could be towed by a minesweeper, which would explain the fins on it. It may well be a bomb, another bomb. Don't know. But when you're getting close, it doesn't get any sharper. I'll pause it there. You can see it. You can see clearly that there are fins on this. Now this may be related to the minesweeper that I found. What looks a bit like a minesweeper on the bottom of Mount Sharp. Right, so we'll move on. That's all I want to show in this one. There's loads of other things in here that look like wreckage as well, and I think at the end there's even what looks like an ejector seat as well, but it's really vague. But you can check that out if you want. Right, let's move on. Now, not far from this, what I just showed you, in Sol 198, I think actually, yeah, it's actually the same set of images, right? So just over to, I think, to the left of this possible torpedo type thing or whatever it is, there's this thing. Mars UFO aircraft or escape capsule. This is a remake of a very old video. This is a newer version of it, which I've done slightly better recently. Not that recently, about a year ago. So it's not. The quality also is pretty poor because it's a very poor quality image from NASA. Very, very grungy indeed. And it's right at the back of the image, right up here. And this may also be related to that aircraft wreckage I've already shown you, because it looks like an escape capsule. Now I got slated left, right and centre for this. In fact, I think I even switched off the votes on this because I was getting so badly voted down on it because people just couldn't grasp what I was trying to get across, which I can't really blame them for, really, because I didn't have much evidence to back it up at the time. But now I do, and this is why I'm re-showing some of this stuff, because this old evidence that I've uncovered, older stuff that I've published, backs up the new stuff I've found, and vice versa. So this is why I'm going through old stuff and new stuff, because all this stuff corroborates itself by the sheer volume of evidence here. Now, this looks very much like an escape capsule or something like that. It may not be an escape capsule, could be wrong, but that's the way I've interpreted it. It's got an exhaust pipe on it. This is a crazy bit of kit. This is. It's not very big. I'm really not sure what size this is. I've estimated it to be somewhere between about 9 inches and a couple of feet. It may be bigger, maybe smaller. Can't tell you really. I got a feeling it's quite small. There are some tracks nearby in some of the adjacent images to this, and when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, this looks like an escape capsule or something like that. And this black thing on the top here is like an exhaust pipe or some sort of pipe, and it's a totally different colour to everything else around in the area. It's the only black thing here, and it's on an object which looks like it's got a thrust nozzle at the back here, like a part of a jet engine outlet or something, like a little engine on the back, yeah, and a sort of window here. And that window, when I've actually gone in with a sort of geometry and looked at the geometry of it, and it's a perfect ovoid, symmetrical ovoid. You can see there that kind of slit thing there. That is absolutely perfectly symmetrical, and you don't get holes that symmetrical in rocks, and you do not have rocks that are one colour and then have a black pipe sticking out of them. And anyone that says there are is a complete imbecile and is trying to distract you or me or debunk stuff. They're just talking crap. I got really slated badly for this, and I'm still a bit bruised by it. Some guy about 5 or 6 months ago really laid into me. I ended up banning him in the end because he was so nasty in the end, because he couldn't actually prove me wrong. But yeah, I mean, this is a very, very controversial find, and I've done a remake of it, which this is. I originally published this way back in, I think, March, April last year, in 2013. Very controversial, but actually people are starting now to come round to these ideas because there's more evidence there to go with it. Okay, so I ain't going to go on too long about that. There is a comparison in here. Now I've stupidly put the measurement of it in here, and it may be bigger. It may be more like 20 inches, or it may be 30 inches. But judging by the rover's tracks, which you do see in adjacent images to this, it's really small. So, like that missile I showed you a minute ago. Now this is an escape capsule from a B-58. That's humans. So a human has to go in there. Okay, so that's quite big. It's over 4 foot tall. So you kind of sit in there. There's a seat in there, and this thing kind of closes over you, and then you get shot out the top of the aeroplane. Okay, that's what that does. Now here's the aeroplane, which I think the escape capsule probably came from, and I've estimated this aircraft to be very, very large. I couldn't tell you exactly how big it is because I don't know exactly how far away it is from the Curiosity. Mars huge crashed aircraft found near Oasis. Okay, there's 2 parts to this. This is part 2, which is actually better. I think there's better enhancements in here. Now, this is kind of sitting in a little gully. You may have seen this already. My subscribers may have already watched this. I may even do another remake of this and go back and try and drag some more detail out of this, because I could probably sharpen it more than this and get some of the more of the cockpit detail. Now, I actually think that little escape pod, the little alien escape pod thing that I showed you a minute ago, that looks a bit like that, okay, in there, okay, let's pause that. I actually think this may be from this aircraft, because this aircraft, you can see the cockpit here, you can see the broken window just there, has a hatch hole here, as if the pilot has ejected straight out of the cockpit. Okay, I'll just run that through a little bit, brighten it up a bit there. It does get a bit closer, but I don't know if it gets any more detail. Let me play it through a little. Yeah, here we go. It does get more detail coming up now. And I zoom into the cockpit and try and get some more detail. I think I could probably do a better job of this now, because my sharpening skills have got better, I think, over the last couple of months. Here we go. Broken glass, window, front of the aircraft, nose, hole in the cockpit roof, maybe more broken glass here from the front of the window here. And this to me looks like the pilot or pilots, could have been more than one, shot out the top of there and ejected. Now this may or may not be the ejector pod or escape pod or ejector seat from that aircraft, because the scale's wrong. Because this aircraft is way too big. This aircraft's well over 120 foot long. It's huge. It's at least 100 or so feet long. I couldn't tell you exactly. There are some measurements in the video. I've given some rough measure guides, and I think they're pretty accurate, but they could be out as much as 20 or 30 feet out. I don't know. They are approximate. But this is big. This is really big. And I don't think that this escape pod came from it, even though it could have done. It seems the wrong scale, because I think this thing's really quite small. It may be bigger, a lot bigger than 10 inches, but not much. It may be 20 inches, but I really don't think it's any bigger than that, because when you look at the rover tracks further over in this set of images that this came from, this thing is quite small in comparison. It's at a funny angle, it's in the distance, it's at the back of the image, so it's hard to tell. But it's really hard with this stuff. Really hard. Like I said in my previous video, scale is really hard to work out on Mars, because there's not much to go by, and the only thing you can really truly go by are the rover tracks, and that's what I've done here, and that's the scale I got from them, and this is one of the few ones I am now quite confident about, really. And this one is really big, so this may not be related. So this escape capsule may have come from this area next to this stuff here, which I showed you in the first thing, which is here, because the scale's more similar, and it's also nearer. It's a lot nearer to this than it is to that big aircraft I showed you a minute ago, because nearly all the earlier sols are all in this sort of area, and a lot of them are over the back here. There's a whole bunch of them over to that side. You know, they're all sort of in quite a small area, really. You know, it's deceiving when you look at this stuff. You think this is a huge expanse, but actually we are seeing quite a narrow field of view usually, and this is an image stitch, obviously, and they put a whole bunch together to give you a wider view. But there are much wider views of this area than this. This isn't the widest. So I think the escape capsule is something to do with this here, this long missile or narrow aircraft debris field here. It goes right along here, because this is much smaller, and the pilot may be really small, and that helmet isn't very big either. That helmet thing here, this is quite near. That isn't very big at all. That's small. Now, if you it's just a bit bigger than my little hand icon here, about twice the size. Okay, that helmet. Now this is about 1 meter across, this boulder here. Okay, so that's small. That isn't very big at all. So I'm guessing the escape pod is to do with this long piece of wreckage here, and you can see it's all hollowed out, and like a fuselage, possibly a missile, possibly an aircraft. But there's all sorts of bits of wiring and nuts and bolts and stuff in here, and it's all kind of half buried. It could have been there for a million years, don't know. Okay, so we'll move on from that. But I really do recommend this image. There's so much in here, I really cannot get it across how much there is. There is so much in here, it's almost impossible to get across how much there is. I spent months on this alone, this image, and there's still probably hundreds of more artifacts in here. There's loads of fossils and just objects lying around. Okay, let's move on. Lot to cover here. Right, next. Now, I'll just let that play through and show you a bit more detail on that. I'll show you where I think this is the ejector hole, I think, at the top, where it's ejected. Now, other people have found what look like ejector seats on Mars, and I found a couple. That was the better one, the escape pod, which is quite small. But I have found other ejector seats. There's the broken window. You may have already seen this. If you want to see this in a bit more detail, then you can go back and watch the video. Mars huge crashed aircraft found near oasis. This is part 2, which is better. Part 1's it's cool, but this has got more detail, and it kind of gives you an oversight of all the other wreckage nearby as well. There's tons and tons of wreckage nearby. Now this is right near the bottom of Mount Sharp, like a lot of the other stuff I found and published recently. Here's an overview of it. I did my own image stitch for this. There's the aircraft there. Now this is in the sort of gully or lake or riverbed, which is right at the bottom of Mount Sharp. If you look further up to the back here, this is the bottom of Mount Sharp. Okay, so this is yet another bit of evidence for the bottom of Mount Sharp, or at least part of Mount Sharp, being either a naval or military base of some sort. Okay, there's the aircraft, and if you want to see more of that, you'll have to go to the video, because I'm trying not to run over time on this. And here's some other things that are also at the bottom of Mount Sharp. These are from the rock nest panoramic image from the background. If you zoom in to the background, right at the top on the right, you'll get all this stuff. This is a submarine or something similar. I'll let this play for a little bit. You may have already seen this as well. Now I've drawn around it and highlighted it in blue for you just to make it stand out. And I think this is actually much longer. I've kind of cut it off prematurely here. There's a bit more of it that sticks out this end on the right. And as with a lot of these things, there's also another ship behind here. You can see some detail here. There's dozens and dozens of boats and ships, and even submarines and aircraft, all kind of jumbled up together on the side of Mount Sharp. But this, particularly, if you look at the top of the rock nest image, the famous rock nest image, okay, but then there's links to all this stuff. If you go through these videos, they've all got links, so you can download all those images, no problem. But yeah, this looks like a submarine, and I'll let this play through a little bit. I'll talk you through it just very briefly. It's even got a propeller on the back. Now I've since done a remake of this. I haven't done the full video of it yet. I'm just giving you a taster. But I've re-enhanced this, and I've got more detail out of it. And there's actually, I think there's 4 blades on this propeller here, not 3. Let's go full screen. Okay. So yeah, there's the propeller, and there's what looks like the torpedo hatch there, and this is the bottom of the ship or submarine or whatever it is. Could be a ship of some sort, and we're seeing it lying on its side. Okay. And that's the back end with the propeller. This is the front end. I couldn't tell you exactly how big this thing is. It's pretty huge. It's probably 200 foot long, something like that. Couldn't tell you exactly. I'm not going to commit to any exact sizes because I can't be sure. Okay, there's the propeller. I've highlighted there. I've just highlighted it in yellow. I think there's another bit sticking out here. It's actually a 4-blade propeller, and I missed it. See that there's a bit sticking out at the top here. Okay, so when you see the new version of the submarine, then it will have the extra blade. But I haven't done it yet. I'm still working on a lot of these images. There's so many. I couldn't tell you how many there are. I'd estimate that there's at least 2 dozen ships and aircraft on the site on this end of Mount Sharp that I've found so far. I'll flick you through some of them now. There's one of the aircraft also. This is also from Mount Sharp, but this is further over to nearer the centre. They're all over the place. There's the front end. There's a cockpit here, and that's the back of the aircraft. And I think it may be a delta wing, and the wings are sort of half buried under here. There's tons of stuff buried on the side of this, what I think is a military base. And I do actually think, like I said in the previous videos, a couple of videos, that the whole of Mount Sharp is artificial, and it almost looks like someone's landed an aircraft, a massive spaceship there, and then poured a load of concrete over it. That's what it looks like. Refer to my previous videos for more on that. I could be way off the mark, but it's certainly artificial. I pretty much guarantee you that. Right, I'm just going to show you some comparative images here quickly. because we're starting to run out of time a bit here. Now, you may have seen my video that I did recently, Mars Riverboat with number plate, okay? And I've got it up here somewhere, hang on. It's down here. There's all these Navy, the whole Navy series I've done, Mars Navy Battleship, Mars Navy Mountain Sharp Alien Ship, Mars Navy Minesweeper. You've really got to check these out because they've all got loads of huge boats and ships and aircraft in them. Some of them are a little bit vague, but some of them are extremely clear and huge, especially the Mars Navy Battleship Bismarck. That is huge, and they've all got huge things in them, huge ships and stuff. This is one of the smaller ones, the Mars Riverboat with number plate. Now, that's got some great detail in it, and it's even got numbers on the front of it, and that's one of my best finds, I think. But there's a whole row of ships and things. There's loads. The Mountain Sharp series is up to about I'm on about number 10 now, but most of these are marine vessels that are just kind of rotting away on the side of Mount Sharp, half buried, and some of them are very, very clear indeed. You've really got to look through them. But the riverboat, I'll just get that up now quickly. I'll just skip through the advert. I should have got this up ready beforehand, really. It seems to be struggling today a bit. YouTube, don't know what's going on. I'll come back to that in a sec. I'll let that load up. Right, the riverboat. Where is he? There we go. Now that's the raw image that I got of the riverboat. And you can see it's a riverboat. But I actually think it may be longer than I did in the video. I kind of chopped it off prematurely, maybe on the right here. And this is the raw image that I clipped from the raw image. This is just a clip out. No enhancements on this whatsoever. And you can actually see the number 29S, the famous Mars S, on the front of it here. This is like a number plate. And there's the front of the boat. You can just make out there. And there's the top of the boat here. And it's sort of pretty vague. Okay, I agree. But when you enhance it, this is what you get. This is one of the enhancements. We won't go through all of them, it takes too long. 29S, there's the number plate, okay? But I've since come back to that, and I've realised that I may have been bang on the money here, but I've got a feeling it was a bit longer, this boat. And there's some enhancements. Look at that number, 29S. Whatever you do to it, this number keeps coming up. It's definitely there. It's three-dimensional as well. Those are embossed letters or numbers or whatever on this number plate. They're not painted on. I used to work as a sign writer. I used to make signs, and I was a sign maker, stroke sign writer many years ago. Did my apprenticeship, and I used to stick numbers and letters onto signs that were usually made of perspex or plastic, sometimes wood. And they were a lot of them were three-dimensional. And what you do is you sort of drill holes in the sign, and then you sort of plug them in. They sort of plug in, you know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying these are plug-in ones, but they are three-dimensional. This is why they have shadows. Okay. So that was what kind of got me onto the Navy series of Mountain Sharp, because I found this and I thought, well, there's loads of boats everywhere. Is this a military base? And I really do think it is. Right, that one's working now. Okay, let's go forward. There's the video. It just goes into some of the enhancements. I've just showed you them anyway. There's not really much point in watching all these now because I've already showed you the enhancements. But it does sort of prematurely cut the boat off there, I think. Let's pause that. Don't need to see that now. Okay, and I actually think now this is a Mark II. I've treated it completely differently this time, and it's from a different angle as well. There's the number plate. Now I've done that in negative, the number plate. I've heavily enhanced this to try and determine what's going on here. And the number plate, you can still see the number there. So you can still see the S and the 9, and the 2's a bit hard to see here because this is a different angle. sun's at a different angle, shadows are different. But I did that in neg just to show that those numbers and letters are still there. The S is still visible, even from a completely different angle and on a different day, perhaps in a different year. Actually, I think I'm not even sure if it's the same year. So yeah, but from this angle, the boat looks longer, and I may have got this wrong. So it may be much longer, and it's kind of half buried in a load of crap here. Loads of junk and sand and crap sort of all kind of slumped up. I mean, this may be that long, I don't know. Couldn't tell you for sure. There are some other, it shows some of the enhancements I've done here. Let's look at it. Sort of, I think that's raw. You still see the number just vaguely up there, just vaguely see the S there, even with no enhancements at all. Completely different day, different angle, but it looks more like that this boat is quite heavily buried, and it actually goes right back to here. See, that all kind of seems to join up. Okay, so there we go. I mean, there are many boats and ships and aircraft that I've found, and this is only a small selection of them. I'm trying to get across the number of these anomalies. There are dozens and dozens of them. Let's go through a few more of these, and they sort of look like this, a lot of them, you know. The Martian ones, now this is from Earth obviously, but this gives you a pretty good idea of what to look for. And what happens is the superstructure tends to break down and rot away, and panels of it kind of come off, assuming they build stuff in the same way as we do, and why shouldn't they? Then they would probably look very similar, and would degrade in a very similar way. They'd probably take an awful lot longer to degrade because of the lack of water and oxygen up there. But there's a whole bunch of stuff here. I'll just flick through these. There's a submarine. This is the sort of thing I'm finding. That submarine thing I showed you a minute ago with the propeller is a bit like this, but from underneath. You can imagine this thing slumped over onto its side, and from another angle, then you may see a propeller as well. That's the kind of thing I'm seeing, you know. And a lot of the stuff I'm seeing up there looks like this: crashed aeroplane, wreckage, with kind of loads of debris and stuff like that. And this one's quite a good comparison. A bit small, this one, but if you imagine this around it isn't water and it's sand and dust and crap. This is I'm seeing loads of stuff like this at the bottom of Mount Sharp. Loads and loads of things like this, and most of them are too vague to actually bother to even publish. I'm sure there's dozens and dozens more that I haven't managed to put out because the image quality is too poor on most of the Curiosity images. And some people have said, oh, you know, surely if you found a ship that big, you'd be able to see it in the high-rise images. Probably will, but I can't seem to find the high-rise image that covers exactly the spot where the big battleship that I found is, which looks a bit like this, you know. This is another. I think this is a World War II wreckage from the Philippines or something. World War II or something. So see, looks very similar to some of the stuff I'm finding. Very similar indeed. Okay, right. Let's change image. Right, we're nearly done. I'll flip through these quickly now because we've already seen a lot of this. Right, where were we? We've done that one. Ah, here we go. Now this is pretty vague, but I think this is another boat. This is a new find. I only found this recently. And there's the enhancement. There's the raw version. I'll zoom in a bit. That's the enhanced version. And compare that to something I just showed you. Like one of these, you know. It's like one of them. It's like that, perhaps, or like this, where you've got most of it buried and only part of the structure is showing. Some of this stuff is very, very similar. This is a pretty small image. You can't get a lot of detail from that. USS Utah. I think this is Pearl Harbor. This thing. That's enormous, but it's taken from a long way up, and it's a crap. It's been a very poorly resized. You know, it's just a very small image. So yeah, look at the similarities. And when you brighten these things up, a lot of these things are quite shiny. Now here's an image map I've done of Mount Sharp, just to give you a rough idea of where a lot of these things are. Not all these are boats, of course, but a lot of them are. That's the one I just showed you, just here. This is just an image map, so the quality isn't brilliant here. I won't zoom in too close because it doesn't get any sharper. There's that one I just showed you, just there. There's the one with the number plate, and you can even see the number plate on this image. All I've done is selected it and used the automatic photo enhance tool on here, which just really brightens it up and stuff. See that number? 29S, still see it. This appears in dozens of photographs, this boat. Dozens of them. From different days, different angles, and that number plate's still there, and that number is still there. I haven't made it up. NASA haven't put that in there. It's not been put in by NASA. NASA do not put stuff into these images. What they do, they take stuff out. If at all, they will blur stuff out and just block it out, or just not show you the image in the first place. They just omit it from the website. Simple as that. Why would they put stuff into images just to play with your mind? They don't do that. It's too much. It's too much work for them. They wouldn't do it. It's a waste of time. It's far easier for them just to blot something out or scrub it, which is what they normally do. Would they do it with the high-rise images as well as the stuff on the ground? You know, not just. There's loads of stuff up here. There's some sort of symmetrical structures up here, buildings, collapsed buildings. There may be a boat here. I'm not really sure about that one. There's definitely a boat. That's the one I've already shown you. There may be another one here. They're all over the place. I can't work out whether this one is or not yet. I've looked at it from multiple angles. Can't quite work out what it is. There's some weird wreckage here. It's all over the place. The whole mountain is covered in wreckage. This thing up here even. I mean, what's that? Is that a boat? I mean, you've really got to look at this Mount Sharp stuff in a different light now and really go over it and start to pull it apart, because not only is the whole structure of Mount Sharp very, very dubious, and what's underneath it may be a city or a massive ship or something, but there is so much wreckage along the side of it, it's almost impossible to fathom how much there is there. Okay, that gives you a rough idea, and that's only one section of it. Okay, that's only one part. When you look at the whole area, there's a new one. I haven't published this one yet. This is a brand new find. Pretty vague. This is further to the left on Mount Sharp of some of the images. PIA 16768, and very vague, but you can just about make out a boat shape here. I think I've enhanced it, sharpened it a little bit there, darkened it up, and there's the enhanced version. Doesn't look like a military one. This looks more like a speedboat or something. Who knows? Could be military, could be civilian. I'm not saying that everything on Mount Sharp is military. Of course not. But when you look at all these structures, a lot of these domes look artificial. I'm not saying they all are, but I think a lot of them are. I have shown in many of my other videos that there are buildings as well amongst some of these structures, small buildings and little bomb shelters. There's a very, very, I've got some enhanced versions of this, but I can't remember where it is right now, but I'll show you straight off the bat. This thing here, there's a building here. This looks like a bunker. There may even be an entrance here into Mount Sharp. It's a totally different colour to the rock around it. This looks like it's been built out of concrete or something. Look at the colour of it. You've got all this brownish, typical brown coloured rock around it, and then you have a sort of blue-grey coloured rock, and there's a roof here. And there is. I've done enhancements of this. I won't dig it out now. It will probably come up in a video in a few days' time. I've got so much stuff on Mount Sharp. I really don't know how to chuck it all together, because it's mind-boggling how much stuff there is here. But that looks to me like a ramp that leads up into a building, which comes right along here, and there's a flat roof on it. You can just about make that out. There's tons of stuff in here, and that big aircraft, I'll show you where it is. Right next to this artificial looking mound here. See this artificial blue mound? May not be artificial, but it certainly looks very odd indeed. And the aircraft is this here. This isn't a very good version of it because it's a funny angle, but that is where that big aircraft is. You can just about make out the cockpit there. There's the nose. And there's tons of wreckage nearby. There's loads of other wreckage. This thing here, loads of stuff here. This is wreckage here. Look at this straight line here. Don't tell me this is just a rock. Look at this stuff. This is wreckage. That's all part. That's probably a lot of this is part of that aircraft, wing structures. Because here an aircraft going past now. I don't know if you can pick that up on the microphone. So yeah, I mean, I really can't get across how much stuff there is in here. I mean, you've really got to get this sort of big Mount Sharp image and really start from scratch on it. Start at one end and work your way across, which is kind of what I've done. There's what looks like the road going up it. Which lots of people have mentioned before, like a big ramp that goes up. And there are so many boats in here. A lot of them are too small and vague, and you may have to really play around with the brightness and contrast a lot on a lot of this. Some of it's quite dark, some of it's too bright, but this is an incredible image when you start to really pull it apart. There are so many wrecked things in here, and a lot of this, amongst a lot of this white stuff as well, there's lots of wreckage in here. There's that boat. There he is. There's the boat I just showed you. There's the pointy end. Okay, that's how vague a lot of them look. I mean, you would never know that was there. But I'm sure there are dozens more. I've found at least 20 or 30 boat ships and aircraft along here so far. I haven't published all of them yet. You've seen most of them in my Mount Sharp series, but there are more which I'm still working on. I've got probably about 5 or 6 more, and some of them are really big. But they're taking a lot of work because a lot of them are from poor quality images and quite a long way off as well, about a kilometre away, and only the really large ones show up. Oh, it looks like another one here. That could be another one. Didn't spot that before. See that point? What you've got to look for is those telltale points, kind of sharp end of a boat perhaps. They're all over the place. It looks to be, this could be one here. Not really sure. That's probably gone. That's probably the edge of this thing. But you've got to look at the curves. Okay, because some of these curves in here are just too good to be true. A lot of these curves are not natural, and you've really got to start looking at Mount Sharp in a different way and kind of really. It helps if you really darken it up and flip it to negative as well. If you really go in dark and neg it up, and you will see all sorts in here. I'm not saying all of these are boats and all of these things are buildings. Of course I'm not, but a lot of them are. A lot of these things are, and there's tons of stuff in here, and there seem to be loads and loads of wreckage down here. A lot of this really bright coloured or bright light coloured stuff here is wreckage. It's metallic, it's reflective. This here definitely is wreckage. It's not a rock here. This is a sort of wing section lying on the edge of this rock. They're all over the place. It's the luminosity is the giveaway, and also you have patches that are very different colours that seem to really. I really can't work out what this is. This blue thing. I actually thought this was water in a previous video, but it's not. It's a kind of mound. But it's completely different colours from everything else in the area. It's totally different. There's nothing else. There's a little bit of it there. I think it's joined to it. Really, really weird. There's a lot of artificial stuff going on up here, and some of these mounds have like what I don't know if I can find it right now. I think it's further around the other side. There are lots of photos with Mount Sharp in the background, but this is the best one. But there are some from further along, which have got different features, and you see different detail. And there's little buildings you might just be able to make out. There was a little building over here somewhere. Can't find it now. I think it's further along. So yeah, I mean, I recommend anyone look at Mount Sharp and look at the Mount Sharp in the background on the large rock nest image, because there's loads of stuff in there. I've found dozens and dozens of things in there, and made multiple videos on Mount Sharp and from the rock nest point of view. like this one here. Okay, so that's just an overview, really. I'm just trying to get across the sheer number of aircraft and boats, ships, that are around the bottom of Mount Sharp and in Gale Crater nearby. They're all over the place. Many more to come, I'm sure, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there will find more. So yeah, I think I'll call it a day there. I think we've touched on everything. Are there any more that I haven't shown you? Oh yeah, the buildings. Yeah, there was one. I won't go through all of this because you've seen this in my previous video. This speedboat thing and the airplane, the jet aircraft fuselage, but that does seem to have portholes there, windows. So when you sharpen it, they come out. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a couple more further back as well. This is the cockpit area. So yeah, I recommend you go back and watch some of those Mount Sharp videos that I've done, the Navy ones especially, because there's tons of stuff like this in there, tons and tons of it. And some people are very skeptical about it. Yeah, fair enough. But when you've got this much stuff in one area, and I've found so much, you've really got to look at this evidence quite seriously, really, I think, because the more you find, the more it backs up the stuff you've already found, you know. And there was this one. Now this is from one of the rock nest backgrounds. Terrible quality image, but when you sharpen it up, there seems to be a building in the back here. Ignore all this crap in the front. I'm sure there are other buildings here as well. But I've done some sort of very quick enhancements on this. There's the raw image, nothing there. This is a poor quality overcompressed JPEG, so it's never going to be great. Sol 141, and this is the background. But what got me was this at the back, because it's very smooth. All the rest is very blocky. There's a very smooth area here, and when you enhance it, it looks like a door to a building. Let's go back. Sorry. No, I sharpened it up there. This looks very abstract, but there is what looks like a building here, like a bunker, with a big sort of. And when I've sharpened up some of the edges, it's got some very interesting roof structure here. This looks like a bomb shelter or a bunker, and this is a doorway, and you can even see the architecture around the doorway here. See, that I could be wrong, but it looks very much like a building. And I know this looks like a very abstract pile of crap here, because I've kind of shoved your face straight into it, really, without showing you the other stages. Just there, building. But because this is such a poor quality JPEG to start with, I couldn't be 100% sure about that at all. But there seems to be steps and weird things in here. This is why I always try and work with the TIFF images rather than the JPEGs, because JPEGs just turn to crap when you enhance them like this, really do. So, and that can really deceive your eyes, and you start seeing shapes and blocks all over the place. But there are some interesting things in here, down here as well, some steps going up and stuff like that. I'm absolutely sure there's loads more buildings on Mount Sharp, and loads more ships, loads more aircraft, and loads more structures that we haven't found yet, and we've only just touched the tip of the iceberg. And as the rover goes further around and up, whatever, we're going to see an awful lot more. And I would be surprised if the images get even worse quality and stuff, because they're not going to really want us to see it. I'm pretty sure of that. You know, they're not going to be too keen on us finding it, so they'll make it hard. We'll still find it, but they're going to make it hard for us. That's for sure. Guarantee you that. They're not going to make it easy for us. They never do. So that pretty much covers it. There was another boat here I found, bottom of Mount Sharp again. Sol 36. Bit vague, very mucky image. This has been darkened, but you can just about make out a boat here as well. There he is. I've done a bit of work on that, but very mucky image to start with. So it's very vague. Just about make out some structures here before you enhance it, and you can see a pointy end to it here, pointy front end. I just thought I'd show you that. I was going to do a sort of load of animations and all this stuff and put them in a video, but because some of these are a bit vague, it's best to chuck them all together in a sort of quick overview like I've done today of some of this stuff. So yeah, there's another one here which is too vague, and there's a lot of it's missing. I think a lot of these things are so buried that you only see parts of them, like the bit of the hole sticking up and stuff. Like, let's get rid of that. We don't need that. So yeah, there we go. I mean, there are so many. What can I say? Check my other videos, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and there's probably dozens more to come, and not just from me, but from other people as well. Keep your eyes out for boats, folks. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope that wasn't too long. See you soon.
Broadsword calling Danny Boy. Broadsword calling Danny Boy.
We got company.
Broadsword calling Danny Boy. Broadsword calling Danny Boy. Broadsword calling Danny Boy. Get the rest of the men out of here and report to the commandant. Everything ready. We need transport. Understood?
Over. Understood. Do you have it? Over.
We have it. We have it all.
Over. All sins forgiven.